they don't want to let go of people pleasing because they see that as being selfish. If they stop pleasing other people, it means that they're a selfish person. And again, it comes back to this good and bad people, and that makes them a bad person.
If you would like to cultivate more worth, freedom and expression in your life, you're watching the right video.
Know why you're setting your boundary, whatever boundary that is. Get clear on why you're setting it, because otherwise you will never respect it and you'll never stick to it.
I'm a certified life coach, a human design reader, and I work with my clients to help them navigate feelings of unworthiness, to shed the weight of the expectations of others, and really to step into speaking their truth. In this 10 Minutes With interview series, I interview wellness experts for a precious 10 minutes for them to share their tips and tricks and their stories of how they have cultivated more worth, freedom, and expression in their lives.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to the 10 Minutes With interview series. Here we are focused on knowing your worth, feeling your freedom, and finding your expression. I'm joined by another amazing guest today. I will allow her to introduce herself. I'm very excited to have this conversation. So please, Amelia, over to you to introduce yourself and tell us.
Thank you for having me. So I'm Amelia. I am a life balance and mindset coach. And I work specifically with ambitious driven women to help them stop people pleasing and start reclaiming their time so they can find the balance, progress and fulfillment that they want in their business, work and life. So that's sort of about me.
I'm really... As you said that, I was like, all those things sound delicious. Yes.
It's interesting. It really evolved for me. It was very much about life balance in the first place, and actually speaking with more clients, working with them through what was coming up for them, and for myself, realizing that actually people pleasing, and this will come into the sort of setting that boundaries and finding your own expression, is a huge reason why we don't have life balance. Because we spend so much time, whether it be at work, in our personal lives, everywhere, unfortunately, it shows its head. And we put sort of so many other people ahead of our own kind of wants and needs. And suddenly we are running ourselves absolutely ragged, just trying to get through the day and do all the things for all the other people. So it's been very interesting to kind of see that kind of evolve for myself and how I can help clients. And I think where you've talked about there as well, the boundaries, I think for me, part of that process was actually linking back to that feeling your freedom for me, which is about shedding those expectations. And actually, that was less my expectations of myself and more my expectations of other people, and how I would see other people as kind of good or bad, and how I then want to be perceived in a certain way. And being able to let go of those expectations just gave me a lot of freedom as well, just from kind of feeling just taken up with everything that's going on for other people. And I think particularly thinking back to lockdown, which obviously we're in again now, but particularly that first lockdown, I found what brought a lot of stress and anxiety to me was worrying about what other people were doing and my expectations that other people should be following the rules and doing all the right things. But actually, I do not know somebody else's situation. I can never understand their lived life experience. And by putting my own expectations onto them, I'm just creating problems for myself because they don't even know. It's not affecting them in any way.
That is so powerful, because the inspiration definitely for some of this interview series was, living by the expectations of others, but it's such a flip. And so really important, how we expect others to behave, what are we putting on them, and how are we suffering as a result of what we're expecting others to do. I think that's really powerful.
I remember I had a conversation with a client and we were talking about her relationship with her mum, and a lot of stuff that was coming up was that, she felt her mum had certain expectations of her and she found that really difficult. And again, just talking this back, just flipping it on its head, actually, what were the expectations that she had of what her mum should be for her? And that again was where you saw that problem, because you're wanting a certain thing from a parent or relationship, but it's because of your own expectation, and it just gets so blurred in the middle. Whereas if we can just actually prioritize ourselves and our needs, and then we don't need so much of that from other people, and we're then free to do what we want. And actually, another point I'll come to, but I think a lot of people, they don't want to let go of people pleasing because they see that as being selfish. If they stop pleasing other people, it means that they're a selfish person. And again, it comes back to this good and bad people, and it makes them a bad person. But actually, what I've kind of discovered, and it's been really useful as a point to keep reminding myself, and it's a bit of a bitter pill to swallow, but people pleasing is fundamentally selfish, because actually it's coming from a place where we are doing something because of how we will then be perceived, or because of what we think that person needs, or it comes from us and it's about us, rather than if you can let go of people pleasing, you can still do whatever you want for other people, but because you want to, not because you feel that you have to or you need to. And that's a really nice feeling. And
because you say it
like that's great. And actually I'm doing this just because I think it's almost, you strip it back to like buying presents for people, and we're coming up to Christmas, and I need to buy a present for somebody, I better find something that they need, as opposed to seeing something and going, God, I'd love to buy that for that person, they would really love that. It's that distinction. You're still giving them a present, you're still being perceived, you're still thinking that's a good thing to do essentially, but actually the intention behind it is so different. And I think that's just like a topical festive example of where that kind of comes into play.
It is. Intention and choice is what I'm hearing in what you're saying.
Yes. And sorry,
so many things to say. I will only add, and I'll let you continue, around we're always trying to manipulate other people's perceptions of us. Actually, that can be exhausting. Like, if I get them this, they'll think this. If I behave this way, they might think that. And it's so restrictive. And
it's two things I'm thinking of there. It's when you said about the choice, I think one thing that comes up a lot in my work is people really having to accept that where they're at in life is down to a lot of choices. And when I'm talking about life balance, and I'll be speaking with clients that are in very busy kind of high powered jobs, and well, I can't do that, like, because that's just not how it's done in my company, that's just not acceptable, that's this and this. And I don't mean to be kind of flippant to go, that's an excuse, but actually to accept that you've put yourself in that position, and that doesn't mean you have to change that. But if you can understand that that's a choice that you've made, again, you can feel more empowered in that moment to go, actually, I hear what you're saying, but right now I don't want to choose to do that. This is how it works in my company, I'm happy to do with what they want. And I think we just kind of let go of that ownership for so much. And I had it in the past. I remember missing a close friend's hen do because I had to work. But actually, would I have been better in that situation going, do you know what? I really feel it's important for my job at the moment that I'm at work, so I'm having to prioritize that. And being able to accept that ownership, it doesn't then feel like everything's out of your control, because so much more is in our control than we realize, but we have to accept that. And it doesn't mean we have to then make a load of different choices, but we can accept that we have made choices to get where we are.
Yes. There's a Brené Brown video, and she talks about the only reason I take, not the only reason, but one of the reasons that I want to be accountable is that I have control. If I blame you, I have no power.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. And also, if you blame elsewhere, you've got no power. You then can't learn anything from it or change anything in the future. It doesn't necessarily need to change that situation, but it might be going, actually, next time, would I maybe make a different choice, rather than going, well, I had no choice, so next time, whatever, because you're not accepting that there's any part for you to play in it. I think the other thing as well that came up from what you were saying there in terms of the relationship with other people, when thinking about boundaries, and it's a trap I really fell into, was I set my own boundaries and then I expected everybody else to fall in line with those. And it was kind of like, well, I know that after a certain time in the evening, I like to relax with TV. Like, TV is a big switch off for me. It's important to me. And actually, I know that is something that brings me joy and just comfort and whatever it might be. So I know at a certain point, I don't want to be on phone calls. I don't want to be interacting. I think it's also because, well, actually all of my jobs have involved a lot of face-to-face contact, and you kind of go, actually, I need to just not have that.
I don't want to talk anymore today.
Yeah. But then I have other friends that go, actually, you know, I have a few hours after work where I spend that with my partner or do whatever, and then I'm free at about 8 o'clock. And I'm like, oh, absolutely no way. I can't do a phone call at that time.
It's near my bedtime.
Yeah. Understanding that your boundaries might clash with somebody else's, and then you need to decide, am I willing to be flexible with that? Where do I draw a line? But yeah, just realizing that people aren't always going to just fall into place just because you've set your boundaries, and you've got to understand that that's an outcome of it, is that if you've decided that's what's important to you, then you'll have to find other ways to make certain things work.
It's so true. This is so juicy. This is like the flip of everything that I was thinking about with all of the concepts. It's actually how we impose it on others, because I guess actually if people are imposing their expectations of us, we do it the other way around.
Yeah.
I hear intention in what you're saying. I hear choice in what you're saying. What would it be for someone watching thinking, you know, this is great. I want to do something about this, but I don't know what? Where would they start, or what would be your kind of nugget of wisdom?
I think a couple of nuggets, I guess, is one, know why you're setting your boundary, whatever boundary that is. Get clear on why you're setting it, because otherwise you will never respect it and you'll never stick to it. So know what it is, and then you can decide when you want to be kind of flexible with it. And also, I think one of the first places to start, as I said before, is understanding that people pleasing is a little bit selfish. It makes it so much easier to let go of.
I love it. You're a nod. I have nothing else. I'm like, yes. So there you go. For everyone watching, you have permission no longer to people please, because actually it's selfish. So don't be selfish.
Exactly.
Do whatever you want. Set your boundaries, and off you go. And don't expect. As we want to be free of others' expectations, actually freeing others from our expectations, I think is it's super important.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, those are my nuggets of wisdom for you.
Thank you for your nuggets. This has been a wonderful and rapid 10 minutes. I can't believe it's gone so quickly.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. I will make sure all of your details, where people can find you, will be below this video so they can get in contact. Thank you again. I can't thank you enough. It's such a juicy conversation in such a short amount of time. Thank you, Amelia.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for joining me for this interview. I hope that it's been insightful. Please hit like, hit subscribe so you don't miss any of these in the future. And if you want more tips and tricks and stories about cultivating more worth, freedom and expression, come and join me over on Insta at the What If Coach Faye.